After correctly predicting the virus outbreak many years ago that we are now currently facing, Microsoft CEO Bill Gates has now warned of two new disasters that the planet will be facing next. Hopefully this time people are listening because this guy just tends to know what's up. Although before we get into that, if you could please smash that like button, we would really appreciate your support. And with that out of the way, let's just dive right into today's video. So if you recall, back in 2015, Bill Gates delivered a TED Talk where he would famously predict the potential of a virus spreading. Not only that, but he also predicted that some of the virus carriers would be asymptomatic, which means that they would feel okay enough to get on a plane or go to a market, which, as we know, only caused this thing to spread at an unprecedented rate. At the time of his speech, many people would have no idea just how soon this would become our reality. Although even 6 years later, Bill Gates believes that there is no good feeling that comes with being the person who predicted this in the first place, and that he would never be the one to say, "I told you so." While appearing on the YouTube channel Veritasium, Bill spoke more about this and said, "Could I have been more persuasive? There are a number of respiratory viruses, and from time to time one will come along. Respiratory diseases are very scary because you're still walking around on a plane, a bus, when you're infectious. Unlike some other diseases like Ebola, where you are mostly in a hospital bed by the time viral load infects other people." Within that same interview, Bill Gates also proceeded to make a few more predictions for where the planet was heading in the future. And to give you a heads up, both of them are not going to make you feel optimistic about the future. Bill went on to say in his next prediction, "One is climate change. Every year that would be a death toll even greater than we have had in this pandemic." He then added, "Bioterrorism. Somebody who wants to cause damage could engineer a virus, and that means the chance of running into this is more than the naturally caused epidemics like the current one." Now, in my opinion, bioterrorism has been a threat for a long time, but it's one of those things where it wouldn't even be smart for some tyrannical leader to release it. Like, if somebody purposely released the Rona, it would have been a failed plan because it spread everywhere. I mean, the thing with being alive is that we are always at risk of something that could potentially remove us from this world. However, even though we know our time here is brief, we still waste a lot of it worrying or being scared. We have to come to grips with the fact that we're not always going to be able to predict the next disaster. All we can do as humans is adapt and prepare ourselves better for the next time something happens. Hopefully the people that we have lost in this pandemic do not die in vain, and I genuinely hope that government officials use this as a wake-up call so that they can be better prepared for the next time that something happens like this. Taking simple precautionary steps and listening to scientists could have drastically lowered the death toll that we are now faced with. I mean, here's hoping these next two threats being identified by Bill Gates do not go overlooked again. And if you're sitting there wondering what you can do, you can share this video, you can share the information, you can do your own research to look into, say, the impact of climate change or what to do in the event of a disaster. My point is that if you know you're as prepared as you possibly could be, you can then find solace in just living your life without constantly being in fear. And I think that's the ultimate goal here. With that though, let's check out some of your comments from the video titled "The Weeknd Reveals Why He Changed His Face." Corey Simon says, "He looked like he belongs on the set of Thriller by Michael Jackson. It was freaky." It certainly looked inspired by Michael Jackson, that's for sure. You know, the red jacket and the gloves, that's definitely a Michael Jackson-esque character. Bookish Raider says, "I totally see the connection between The Weeknd and Andy Kaufman now that you mention it, Johnny. I'm happy at least someone saw it." Because that was the first thing that I thought of. I was like, oh, that's what he's doing. Darkflesh 4002 says, "That's a hell of a way to tell a story." It 100% is. I mean, good for him. He wants to spend the money and do it. Hey, by all means. It's entertaining a lot of people in a time when we need it. Shelby says, "I literally been saying this the whole time about the superficial Hollywood stuff. It's been a big topic of conversation for a long time. I think the pandemic just really exposed celebrities for what they are. So, I mean, here's hoping something changes." Sweetie Kitty Danny says, "Finally news on a celeb I actually like. LOL, someone not problematic." Yeah, I hold your breath because I don't want to say that The Weeknd's not problematic and then all of a sudden something problematic comes out. But here's hoping. Mandy Lee says, "Weeknd's music is on a whole level itself." Oh yeah, I love Beauty Behind the Madness. I believe that's probably one of my favorite albums. Annabeth Chase Edit says, "This makes Johnny sound like an English teacher." I did tell it like I was retelling a book that I had read earlier in the week, or preparing you for a book report. Here's Chica says, "At least he is trying to make a good point." I mean, yeah, that is like the very glass half full kind of perspective on it. Yes, at least he is trying to make a good point. But that is today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Johnny Rogers, and until next time, stay classy, YouTube.